Ready for the mosh pit, Shaka Bra.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to StrangeCast, Player One vs. World's Life is Strange fan-focused podcast. I am one of your hosts, Adnan Riaz. My co-host, Mr. Adam Evalt, is here.
I am here. I am a mister. I'm mysterious.
Yes, you are mysterious. A lot of things are mysterious, including the Life is Strange franchise, amid many other things. But we are back, obviously, and this will be episode 101. So we've obviously passed the 100 milestone. And this is side A because we are continuing to split our podcast just because of efficiency rates as well. And obviously, thank you for the feedback as well. It's been really helpful. But this is episode 101, side A. And obviously, we got a lot to talk about on this podcast. So as we get into it as well, before we start, if you are new here, please do consider dropping subscribe on the channel, turn on notifications, like the video, and share with your friends. We're almost at 1,900 subscribers, so if you can help us get us there, it'll be brilliant. You should also like the video, because if you don't, you know what's going to happen. You know, in double exposure, that moment with Alderman, and Max is grabbing onto him, it's like, free yourself, or like, you know, help him. I'm not going to help you. What's going to happen? I'm going to do Max uppercut on you.
Yes.
And bang, and you get disappeared out of the game.
Are you
See you
doing
later,
Max
Fiends.
cosplay while you're doing it?
Yes, that'll be
Yes.
the Patreon tier. People can get me to dress up as Max Caulfield in
Yes.
the beanie and the outfit. That will be an option. So it will be a
No, that's
Patreon
Chloe
tier.
with the beanie.
Max is wearing a beanie as well, isn't she?
When?
Double exposure.
Oh, and double exposure. Okay, yeah, that's true. I'm thinking the real Max Caulfield.
Yes, we've erased that, haven't we? But unfortunately, we can't erase it because it's an important part of the conversations. But yes, please do like as well. It helps support the channel, helps support the podcast as well. And obviously, StrangeCast is available on all podcast services. So we're available on Spotify with the video version. We're available on Apple Podcasts. So please do go and rate us and download us as well. You help boost our visibility out to other people. We've now hit 50 ratings on Spotify. So thank you so much. We have a 4.8 rating, which is amazing. And obviously, we have about 312 Spotify followers, which is obviously incredible as well. So please do follow us over there because you get instant access to your episodes as soon as they become available. So, as I said, I'm going to do it one more time because obviously we did it for the Lost Records Journal. These are now split into two parts. Thank you for the feedback. I've seen a lot of people who really enjoy the fact that it's two parts as well. And it makes it more easy for you guys. It's making it a lot easier for me to edit this whilst I chase up other projects and many other things. I have really burnt myself out over the last couple of months. So it's helpful to kind of reset myself and also for me and Adam to reset the podcast as well whilst we go forward. So yeah, you will get them in two parts as well. And obviously, as I said before, if something isn't available in this podcast, it will be in the next podcast or it'll be on the Lost Records Journal. So do stay tuned for that, or it'll be in the other side because we're basically going back to buy. Or in the hole, it'll be in the abyss. You'll have to go in there. You'll have to enter it, which is like, you know, your option. But basically in itself, we're going back to bi-weekly because Lost Records is now out and we have going back to an efficient schedule because there's too many podcasts coming left, right, and center. So it's just important for me to disclaim that. And this will be the last time I do it because going forward, it will be what it is. Adam, we're back now. So obviously we've got a lot to talk about. Should we kick things off with our first piece of news?
Brilliant. Absolutely. Right on, Harry Potter.
This isn't British. And I'm not doing the bloody hell. No, actually we'll do it. Oh, bloody hell. The news is here again. So we got another piece of news. So it's a very small piece. I don't think we're going to go on for too much, Adam, because I think we've already done this. So Jonathan Stauder, the former Deck 9 developer, Life is Strange Double Exposure's director, has posted as well about Life is Strange Double Exposure winning an award at the Webby Awards. So Adam, we have covered this, the Webby Awards. Let me finish, please.
Yeah.
Double Exposure was named People's Voice winner in the AI immersive in games category for public service and social impact. As Adam pointed out in the podcast as well, that was for a vote winner rather than the other one. I think Tales of Kanzara won the other one that we did. So as you can see there's John Stauder as well with his message. I'm just going to zoom in as well. It says another award for Life is Strange Double Exposure. This week it's the Webby Awards 2025 AI immersive in games public service and social impact People's Voice Award. Congratulations to the Life is Strange Double Exposure team. I wish we were able to celebrate wins like this together. You all deserve so much better than the current state of things. Once again, a reminder, most of the team responsible for snagging this award. Yeah, that's what we needed, don't we? Just a notification there. Excuse me for that. Most of the team responsible for snagging this award and other awards and nominations was laid off over the course of 2024 and are looking for work. If you are in the market for devs of any discipline that understand narrative gameplay, devs that have successfully shipped a game in UE5, or devs that would make an outstanding add to your team's culture.
Mm,
Keep an eye out for Life is Strange double exposure on their resume. So that was John Stauder's message, and then obviously for Aysha Farah as well, a former Deck Nine developer, on and also the writer on Life is Strange double exposure, also tweeted about this or posted on social media.
ooh,
So as you
yes.
can see there, it was actually a link that Aysha Farah posted, and then it also put "lol, we apparently won a Webby?" as the caption for the post. And obviously, both Aysha Farah and John Stauder were among the many creative people who were laid off from Deck Nine in 2024 after Life is Strange Double Exposure's very polarizing reception. So we have that from them. So Adam, we have done this before because I think there was a post,
Mm,
an episode where we covered the gaming awards and obviously also John Stauder's reaction to it, and also Aysha Farah's reaction to it.
mm,
Obviously, we've had Thomas Murch come on as well in terms of being in comment of the podcast as well, and Adam playing his little role as well, where he completely duped him because he thought he was going to
yes.
get an unhinged rant, but Adam was like, no.
No,
Um, yeah, this
I'm a
is,
kind soul.
you are a lovely person. Behind the persona, that's the main one. Even
Yeah,
Michelle will see that one day when he comes on. You'll see
yeah.
that
I am
the
drinking tea
real,
out of my little octopus. Did you see the little octopus and the fish? I get my giggles from my fish cup. So there you go.
see,
I have yeah, there. I'm a sweet person.
yes, of
Yeah.
course you are, of course you are. Yeah, I like obviously there's another topic which will be bigger for us to talk about. Jonathan Stauder's message again is relaying the fact that a lot of those developers are laid off from Deck Nine since 2024.
Mm,
I did not agree with a lot of Jonathan Stauder's creative decisions, among many other things. Obviously, again, we had Thomas Murch's insight, which is perfectly fine as well, and completely said about that. Um, there's just like like the little things as well, and I'm trying to obviously not go one of
yes.
us will do it at some point, but I'm not doing it. One of the things I just don't like in the message where it's like most of the team were laid off that worked on this project. No, they weren't. There's
Yeah.
loads of people at Deck Nine that's still working there. Maybe if you were counting about the previous layoffs before that as well,
Yes.
that would count because obviously Baku was part of the previous layoff before that one, and
Mm,
other people as well. But I just don't like the kind of thing of like this is everyone's award, and
yeah.
ultimately as well, I do think that a lot of other people's hard work is held off from winning other more awards for this game, and
Yeah.
also not, in my opinion, creating brand damage IP, which is really, really irreparable at this point. I don't know if you can actually fix it. I'm really kind of sitting there if people would literally switch because they do a pivot. I'm actually thinking about that a lot recently, but I just think like fair enough, like for what you're saying as well, and many other things. But I think like it's the again for me, it's always been the lack of self awareness for what actually happened and the accountability and the acceptance. And obviously, you would again scream to the hills and back if your project won something, but when it was this
Yeah.
divisive, this polarizing,
Mm,
underperformed sales expectations, etc. It is what it is. And even the Webby Awards, like how many people really know about the Webby Awards? Like the award
yeah.
list of this game is so minimal. It's like what, a gaming award? It lost at the Game Awards. It didn't win anything for the BAFTAs. Didn't get any
Yeah.
nominations for the BAFTAs. And you look at the accolades trailer. I think it's probably the accolades trailer, the accolades graphic. It's probably the most weakest Life is Strange game I've ever seen because it's like it doesn't even have any major honors from like a big, barring IGN, which give it a 9. It's got such
Yeah.
a minimal.
Because like really think about this. So, like, of course, Jonathan Stauder is going to be like, oh, the project I worked on, like, oh, you should go check it out. Oh, you should definitely do this. I'll go check this
Yeah,
out, please. Um, like it's winning awards, Eh, but at the same time, it is just like you said, for a Life is Strange game to only win a Webby, right? And all these like miscellaneous awards, it's kind of
mm,
baffling. Like for me, if I ever compose like a game that gets an award and if I get a Webby award, like for my context, whoa, that's a big deal. That's really cool because I came up from nothing. But
yeah,
you're handling an IP that is so well known and so many high expectations, and yet you have 0 BAFTAs, you have 0, nomination well, you had the nomination at the Game Awards and, you know, of course, Hand and Tell was against some, like, heavy competition. Um,
yeah,
my point is that, like, with an IP such as this, with the backing of Square Enix, it's like it's a hard sell, man. It's a hard sell to be like, "Oh, you should check out these people." I want these people to find jobs but damn, dude, just like understand that this is not a project that's like a big resume builder, you know?
No, I think that's the point because like we could sit here and do the lacing of emotions among many other times we've done it on the podcast, and it doesn't really achieve anything because like you've seen the creative team, you've seen how they've reacted. I've said this to the fan base as well. It's like you've seen how much they feel proud of this project, despite what any other metric would tell you of the game. And as you said, I think that's the main thing, which is that it's not a resume builder. So even with John Stauder's message at the end where he said, look out in the resume, I'd kind of be like looking away from it if I was a developer, like a publisher, because I'm like, hang on a minute. Even aside from the quality, whatever you pitched in the project, the game has flopped on all metrics for its publisher, as you said, for an established IP. And if you won it for a Webby Award for like your like working on an independent game, fantastic. But
Yeah.
not for like a double A, triple A game, like or anything in
Let's
that
be honest, it's
spectrum where,
triple A. It's triple A. Like I know Deck
yeah,
9 is like a smaller, but like I can't imagine Square Enix didn't really hold back any money. Like I feel like this is triple A because of the publisher, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Like
Well, I've always had that argument with people.
yeah, it's complicated where it's like is it double A? Is it triple A? It's like right in that middle. It's a double A and a half.
Because like because this is where AAA has lost all meaning. Because like if you compare this as double A and then put it next to Lost Records, which is
Mhm.
independent, seen as independent from Don't Nod, you kind of like hang on a minute, like that
Yeah.
can't be double A. And like it in the realist sense, Life is Strange Double Exposure would be triple A if triple A hadn't lost all meaning. Because
Yeah.
triple A has lost all meaning now because they have 400 million ridiculous pound budgets, and this budget is nowhere near that. But again, you can't really be a independent game, and you could try and argue it's double A, but when you have Square Enix's external studios, the marketing,
Mhm.
everything else. You look at the credits. Look how many people from Square Enix work on these games, and the amount,
Yes.
as you said, for Deck Nine. Deck Nine's an independent studio essentially. It's no different from Don't Nod. It's even smaller as well from Don't Nod, so it's even got less resources compared to them. So ultimately, yeah, it's like for a studio as well, and for a game, it's not good. And it also as well, if anything, even if you don't want to argue that Life is Strange Double Exposure isn't AAA, the brand IP and the franchise were AAA. They were considered that by Square in terms of like obviously the way that they rolled it out. And again, it's just not something that you kind of sit there thinking like amazing about because like even we've sat here talking about it and like Adam, no one talks about this game.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
one talks about it. No one talks about theories. Like everyone talks about Lost Records. The enjoyment is there with that, and among many other
Yeah.
things. Like there's no one sitting here thinking, "Oh, what's going to happen next?" And that impending threat of Max Caulfield will return that sits there is no
People are
longer. And
begging for tape 3 and they're not begging for like Max Caulfield's return, you know?
yeah,
Like that's the
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, which I think again was in that Lost Records conversation we had. It wasn't saying that people shouldn't be excited for a sequel because I'm not some gatekeeper of the Lost Records series, but it's
Sure.
more about the fact that people were demanding something. We need this now and give it to us now. I was like, hopefully they do a sequel. Maybe they fulfill your expectations on that, or maybe
Mhm.
they do an anthology. It's more about let's just like not say that tape free is an actual thing until they actually suggest it's a real thing, because otherwise there's no such thing. This was two tapes. It's more when people say tape free is an extension of that game, where it's like you need to finish the story. It's like no, 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 no.
Yeah.
If you want it to be something else, it can be itself, but don't treat it as like an extension to this already story that they told. But as you said as well, people are more excited for that. They're asking for that in terms of having it for a game, and like no one's asking for a double exposure sequel. No one wants another Life is Strange game, and people are just sitting there thinking like the ominous threat of when this returns. It's like,
Mhm.
so yeah, I think it's not. I just don't think it's a good thing. And I actually forgot to add one of the pieces to the news topics, but I don't think I will do it now. Is Square had reported its earnings, and like obviously says no mention of Life is Strange. There's not been a mention of it for a long time. It's like it doesn't even move the needle. And this game, like even by that analyst report, it said that the game failed commercially. And I mean, it's not really hard to look at where the game performs. So ultimately, it is what it is. And as you said, like I can't sit here sitting here because like we've already held John Stauder accountable
Mm.
many times, and the same with Aysha
Yes.
Farah many times. And I 100% imagine it's going to be many times more considering the way that things go with this podcast and the conversation. So, as you will, should we go into our next piece?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And Adam, this like
Yes.
we didn't get far away from things. So obviously, I've got it up here. So this is from an interview that was on a
Mhm.
little podcast called Little Victories and via Andres
Ooh.
Plays. But
Yes.
so, can I give you a bit of thingy? This isn't actually a new interview, right? So the
Oh?
podcast has been uploaded with the episode, but the episode starts with essentially that this is recorded at the time when Life is Strange Double Exposure was nominated at the New York Video Game Awards last
Oh,
year.
yes.
So it's from back then, and obviously Aysha Farah is still working at Deck Nine at this point as well because it's amid that. And in this
I'm
interview,
also
it's a
from
bit
back then.
yes, you are from back then. So in
Yes.
itself as well, this interview is very strange. Like when you watch it, like I've watched parts, I haven't finished it all yet. It's just not very compelling for me. But there's one
Yeah.
thing that I found on Blue Skies, and this was from Andres Play, who's the person that's hosting it, asking questions. It was about Aisha Farah, and she talks in this clip as well, among many other things. I won't play the clip because I'm not going to try and put it in our podcast and stuff.
Mm.
But there were a couple of quotes I wanted to take away from it, which was these two that I put here, Adam. It says, this is from Aisha Farah, and I transcribed it and says, and I quote, that thing that happened to her in Jefferson's bunker, i.e. Max, nobody else has, like, it's been erased, quote unquote erased. Um, but it hasn't but it hasn't been but it hasn't been because she experienced it. And that's what I think trauma feels like.
Can I read that out loud for myself?
Yes.
That thing that happened to her in Jefferson's bunker, nobody else has, like it's been erased, but it hasn't been because she experienced, but it hasn't been erased because she experienced it. Okay, wait. So, okay, can you interpret that for me, please? Like,
Um
what? Wait, nobody else. Okay, t- yeah, translate that for me. Like, I'm like that feels like a twisted sentence right there.
what but it hasn't been because she experienced it.
So, like, it's been erased. Like what? Like the memory of the bunker has been erased.
Yeah, so it's like quote unquote it's been erased, but it's not really been erased because it's in her subconscious.
Okay. Y- yeah.
Yeah, it's a tongue twister. So basically what she's saying is quote
It's
unquote
not a
it's
tongue
been
twister, it's how a
erased.
college student embraces trauma. It's like a college student in a psychology course embraces, like, the trauma, like, "This is what trauma really is." Blah, blah, blah. That's fun.
Yes.
Yes.
So what she's saying is in the full clip, and not to construe it as well, she's also saying that. So she's basically saying she's experienced it, she's erased it from her mind, quote unquote,
Mm,
erased it with as she's done, but she's still experienced it, so she's felt it, and that means that the trauma will come back at some point, and
okay.
that's her interpretation of trauma. So it's like this is why Max acts the way that she does. If you watch the full clip as well, it doesn't make any difference to the quote of what it is. It's amid all those quotes that she's saying because she's saying that the trauma, this is how I interpret trauma from
Okay.
Max. Um, so yeah, I think it's an interesting, it's a poorly conceived idea of trauma and perception of it. Um,
Well, thank
so
God
just
none of us are in a psychology course right now and, cringing at this fact of, like, what trauma means. Thank God neither one of us is in a
I know
psychology course. Yeah,
what
that would be spine-chilling cringe right there.
it really would, wouldn't it? Because I put here as well, Adam, just because it go off my tweets. I put Max was so traumatized that she was fine sleeping in a dark room and walking in and out of it, acting like nothing happened. But her trauma activated for a goofy nightmare sequence because, well, the plot. It's funny how
Yes.
that erased experience just surfaced from the story. So if you're not watching the video version, it's obviously Max sleeping in the dark room, and then obviously the nightmare sequence in weirdly fifth chapter of it.
Yeah.
So kind of just to talk about Adam as well, because I
Mhm.
think this is more important, and I singled this out because it's a topic we've kind of like revolved around in the spoiler cast review that we did. I don't want to do the kind of like the double exposure bashing on like another front. I want to do it on this because, and we're doing very visible. You're a man with trauma, aren't you?
Let me look. Okay, so I'm an artist. I also make music. Yeah, I have trauma. Yeah.
Can the real Mr. Adam Evalt please stand up? That's what we need, Slim Shady style. The
I actually
trauma,
don't have any legs, so I'm basically a Muppet, But
exactly.
except Kermit, we saw Kermit with the bicycle that one time. It was leg reveal right there. Um, but yeah, totally. So yeah, if I could just stand up and tell you that no. Do you like my legs, by the way? Do you like my nice little thighs right there? Um, No. So as you can tell that I'm wearing shorts, yes, I have trauma in me. So let me talk to you a little bit about this.
Yes.
Uh, Once again, when I say that is what a college student just learning about trauma like interprets trauma with. What trauma really is, right? Like you said, like if she went into a dark room, just like a
Mm,
photography dark room, she just kind of she would close off. She would get claustrophobic. Maybe she'd have a panic attack. Nothing would explain it. If she was, I would say even this. I'm going to argue this. If she went into an elevator, right? Like that, then she would. She wouldn't trust men in general. She would
no.
not trust men. There would be a lot of things that she just can't do because, like,
Hmm.
she would be so closed off.
Yeah.
For me, on a great example, um, I don't respect authority. I don't respect authority, as some might say.
Eh,
Um, I don't respect authority. Why? I didn't really have a good father figure in my life. There was
yeah.
no, and that's not to say like, everybody needs to have a father to know authority. But
Hmm.
when you study psychology and you don't have a good father in the household or good parents,
Yeah.
let's be real, a good parent in the household, because my mom was doing 3 jobs just to keep me like alive. So
Yeah.
because there wasn't a good parents give me authority. So therefore, my trauma on that is I don't respect authority. It's
Yeah.
kind of like trauma is like an RPG, right? It's like in Outer Worlds where you get like a curse on you and like
Yeah.
it affects your stats. It affects your stats in the world. So if I get this, that means that I can't take in more uh I don't know, magic points.
Yeah.
I don't know. But that's my interpretation. Like what happens to you internally will come out as a personality trait, you know? So that's
Yeah.
what I interpret it as, not just like it's been erased, but she's experienced it. Get it?
Yeah.
So
No, because like
as you, who's definitely not taking anything that would help him be an expert in this, what do you think about this?
I think it's an awful interpretation of trauma, like
Yeah.
truly awful.
Mm.
And I say this as well. Every person's trauma is individual. We experience it all individual, and nothing is
Yeah.
binary for me to say this is the interpretation of trauma because it's always different. But there's a lot of things over here, and obviously, as I've said to you before, like, for transparency, I've been studying counselling for the last 2 years, so I've become more absorbed with in terms of like volunteering and helping other people, and then
Dang,
also
that's
as well
cringe,
learning
dude.
all cringe, of course, and then also as well doing a lot of the theories as well, and going all the way back down to like Freud, among many other things. Um, the problem is with this interpretation is, and it was a big pet peeve I did because I said it in the review spoiler cast, and we only
Mm.
mention it over. It's the fact that nothing activates in terms of this trauma.
Yeah.
So it's like even when she uses the camera, as you said as well, anything would trigger this person. So it's like
Yeah.
even for example, let's use an extreme example, which is like someone who's an SA victim, for example, right?
Mhm.
Any person, whether it's a man, woman, or even a person, anyone who's, for example, trans person, they will usually want to speak to someone who is a of the similar sex,
Mhm.
usually they'll like want to speak to them because, for example, if a woman has been in this example essay, they would obviously like to speak to a woman because it would take a
Mhm.
long time for them to process and build up, etc. All these important things, and also as well, if you are listening and any of these things do trigger yourself, please do move forward because it will go
Sure.
a bit dark with that, and hopefully as well, please do seek out advice as well. It's always really important to,
Mm.
make sure you are in a good space with this. Um, but that's the thing with Max, though, for example, because Max doesn't show any of that. So even as you said in the nightmare sequence, I like there's a dark room built into her house at
Mm.
Caledon University where she's at. And there's no context for that. She walks in and out of it. She
Mm.
sleeps in it. And I
Yeah.
even put on Twitter as well saying that there's one scene where you could have done where she wakes up when she wakes up groggy. You could even
Yeah.
have done a scene where it's like a needle goes into her and she's like
Yeah.
screams and then it's an actual wake up scene. So it's almost like a nightmare sequence built into what, this cliche film style. Do something like that. Or for example, put a scene in the game where she goes to see the school counselor and then she
Mhm.
unloads and she does that thing. As you said, maybe you do it with a woman, for example, so you can kind of like send that message
Yeah.
that authority figure that might be missing, or you have that kind of interpretation, that experience with someone, do that. Or for example, even just as a potent scene, she goes into the dark room, turns light off, turns it back on, you just
Mhm.
see, that kind of like cat ghost
Yeah.
style that we see in Lost Records with the little blips. We see a Jefferson figure appear briefly.
Trauma trauma is so like it's a snowflake. Nobody's the same.
Yeah,
In the same way, my ears will start to ring out of nowhere. That's a disorder with anxiety. Like
yeah.
that's straight up like if because of my anxiety, like all of a sudden my like it will go like shell shock in my one ear that like I had to tell Liz. Liz is just talking like it will be just out of nowhere, and Liz will start talking, and I just like pause it like real quick, like, "Hey, 1 second, I'm going deaf." Like not
Yeah.
even like just literally, I'm going deaf because of my anxiety.
No, but that's, for example, and I've told you this before. That's like the Freud theory, where it says that a childhood experience is connected to a
Mm.
certain trauma now. So, like for example, if you are scared of the dark, the entire like Freud theory, that kind of like idea would be that something in your past has triggered that experience. You have a dark phobia because something that is a repressed memory at childhood is making you feel that way. So it could have been,
What
for
if I
example, your parent.
what if I get aroused by the dark?
Well, that's for you to deal with. Well, to be honest though, if you actually know if you were getting aroused, Freud would be like that's also on point because everything that Freud said was laced in like aroused like feelings
Somebody
among many other things.
flips the switch and I just yell, "What the?"
Yeah. um, No, but like when you said it as well, like these are all laced into it. So Max doesn't show any of it. She doesn't show
Mm,
any of it with interactions. You could easily
exactly.
have done it like I think like
Or
again, one of the ideas that I have, Adam, as well, and it's
yeah,
just an idea because if she was actually a teacher at the game in the game, heaven forbid, for some reason she's an artist in residence. If you made her a teacher in the game, it would have been really interesting if you'd done a scene where she's a photography teacher, and
yeah,
during that she manifests parts of Jefferson in her personality. So when
yeah,
she's interacting with a student and they're doing a selfie, wouldn't it be interesting if she actually said the selfie line and then she does it subconsciously and like from a mind where her repressed memories are hiding something
yeah.
and the trauma is triggering it? Because Jefferson was a very key figure in her life, and the way they handle this is really poor. And one thing I find really interesting, because I was doing some digging, Aysha Farah even likes NBC's Hannibal, the TV show, which is one of my favorite TV shows ever made. I
Yeah.
adore that TV show. And if you ever watch that show, the first season, they handle trauma so well because what happens with Will Graham in that TV show, again,
Yeah.
spoiler now if you haven't seen Hannibal, ha- Will Graham is shell shocked by what happens in the first episode from what he
Yes.
does. And the person that whatever he does it to haunts him throughout the season. It continuously appears in this. And to add on to this, one last thing, what I find wild, and I only thought about this when I was planning the podcast and doing it with you. Deck 9 has done this
Yes.
before, but in a better way, which is, for
Yes.
example, in Life is Strange Before the Storm, what happens in the trauma sequences? William
Yeah.
Price turns up at every corner and
Yeah.
is sitting there talking to Chloe. And that is a trauma triggered response, but she is thinking about William Price. Again, whether you agree with Before the Storm, that's a different conversation. It's more
Mhm.
about connecting the dots. That's when they're accepting trauma and they're dealing with it. This game uses Max's trauma when it feels like it. When it wants to be a sequel, it'll be a sequel. When it wants to be a
Yeah.
standalone, it becomes a standalone. And what he does is it diminishes any theme about the fact that trauma is important because it's only using it for a plot device. Because if trauma was that bad, and I know that they've fused the kind of worlds together in that fifth episode, and when they're doing the nightmare sequence, that's why the bowling ball's there, because obviously it's where Safi and Max are going to.
Yes.
It would be Jefferson. It would be
Yeah.
Jefferson. And it's shown every time. Look at what happens in Harry Potter, the Bogart. It's not actually got a physical form. It's just
Mhm.
a manifestation of your deepest, darkest worry, fear, whatever it is. That's what it manifests into. And this game doesn't do that. And it's like for me, when I watched that part of the interview, I was like, Aisha Farah, I'm sorry, I just
Mhm.
don't agree with it. And especially just for talking about an experience of like dealing with people who have had trauma so far and expect to do a lot more of it going forward in the future.
Yeah.
No, no, you've lost the mark here. That this is not. This is beyond just an emotional ranting and raving kind of thing. This is a measured take about how poorly you have perceived trauma, and I think that this is also on both the creative team and also on Square Enix, who kept banging on about the message saying powers activate trauma, and
Yes.
Max is like this because of trauma. Please stop diminishing trauma. People go through
Mhm.
trauma in different ways, and if you're going to use it in a powerful way and use it in a way you express yourself, like you do, for example, in your
Yeah.
music, in
Yeah.
your ambitions, your career, and you become that person. Every person has trauma. You look at any famous person, 100% bet you something in their life has been trauma inducing, but it's how
Mhm.
you facilitate that. And one thing that really bugs me with this as well, it shows how one-dimensional Max is in double exposure.
Yep.
They
Yeah.
stripped all the elements from Don't Nod, what they did, and they didn't even bother really attacking the trauma and be like, Max doesn't use this camera because it reminds her of Jefferson, and she doesn't have tripods in her room because like she knows what Jefferson did to Madsen.
Mhm.
And people take years to get over trauma. And I know there's a 10-year gap with Max, but we need to see that. You need to
Yeah.
show it and do it in subtle ways. Do it in a subtle way where she feels it. She has like a phobia or something. She has a phobia of the darkness, anything like that. But no, she just sat in a dark room sleeping. It was such a weird thing to see in the game
Yeah.
when I saw it. It really bugged me out of all the other stuff. I was like, how can you
Or
do
just
that?
being a professor, like, she just, like, automatically becomes an art professor, and I'm like, "No,
Yeah.
that wouldn't happen." I don't know. I don't know, it's just very one-dimensional, it's very inauthentic. Um, yeah, I don't understand.
Yeah, no, you're right though, because like in itself, you could argue that she became a professor because she had that infatuation with him, like in terms of being like that she really admired him, she wanted to be like him, and sometimes you kind of have that kind of thing with trauma where someone might follow the path of someone, but you still have to explain it, give it justification. She should also be quite holistic towards um Lucas, a bit more beyond than
Yeah,
just the surface value. She should really be thinking about it, and this is for me as well why it's weird that they changed Loretta around because
yeah,
Loretta was meant to be mimicking Victoria Chase in terms of being infatuated with Lucas. And that's no different from Victoria and Jefferson. That could have been a triggering point from her trauma. You could have triggered the trauma scenes with that because she's seeing it and she's like, I can't let this happen again. I can't let this happen again. It's a very weird podcast. I even think even in itself as well, Aisha says at one point, she's like, um, no one saw that it happened to it. She experienced it. I'm like, well, technically Victoria can experience it because
yeah,
that's one of the options. If Victoria, you do not warn Victoria, Victoria can end up in the dark room with you. So
yeah,
how can she not like? I just found it very. I think again, it's another damning indictment for how much this game drifted from the source material,
mhm.
lost all direction, and it was basically the biggest nostalgia trap of the 21st century within at least this
And
fandom.
then once again, like, Chloe like, "Oh, me and Chloe just kind of grew apart." I'm like, "No,
No,
no, that wouldn't
no.
happen, dude." Like, you're the only one that understands each other's trauma. Like, you're bonded for life at that point, like, that doesn't happen, man. It doesn't
And
happen.
I And it's so funny you mentioned that because ironically, one of the topics we moved into the second part, and you'll see about the trauma bonding message because that is where you're like, that message
Yeah,
you just put there literally amplifies Pricefield because Pricefield is only part of the problem with this game. Only part of it.
yes.
It's a major issue. Let's not diminish it. But like that's as you said, if you trauma bond with someone, that's usually when you get over the next hurdle of
Mhm.
it. And the way that they handle, no, I'm sorry, Aisha Farah. It's just very I've watched a lot of interviews with Aisha Farah and I just don't get it. I really feel like it's just lost in the actual meaning of the franchise, which is so weird. Um, but as you will, like I think that was probably the most civilized we've been with double exposure. I think it was just more I specifically picked that point out because I feel like for two people who sit here and we are laced with trauma and we talk about ourselves, like, man, it takes
Yeah.
years to get over your like personal I'm still
Mhm.
not over my personal issues. And that's like when you get into
Oh,
what my
really?
course is.
I'm 34,
Mm.
I'm all fixed, buddy.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
We got the
all
wrench
100%
fixing in the
cured.
background. It's like,
Yeah,
yes,
dude. Yeah. Only
we're keeping
only took 2 therapy sessions, and I was like, "I'm cured. I'm good."
I'm cured. I'm
Yeah.
great. And then you step on like a thumbtack and you're like, yep, I'm gonna have to get a tetanus shot and I'm also gonna have to like get my therapies back on order because it's like that was the reality shock. Yeah,
Yeah.
just very, very poor take. But I just wanted to bring that in because I think it's an important conversation to have. That's a again when we sit down and have like a measured take about the game, my God almighty. And also, and just before we move on as well, kudos to Hannah Tell because she delivered in those scenes because she really carried it and she showed where the trauma was connected to like Max, and she gave it because she probably understood Max. No, sorry, she understood Max a lot better than these people did who worked on the creative team. So kudos to Hannah as well, and I still adore her as well. I think she's fantastic. I wish her nothing but the best. Adam, should we move into our other piece of news? This is probably our other major one before we get our
Major.
miscellaneous off.
Yeah.
Major, that's the main one. So I'm just double checking that we got the right one. Yes. So Adam, this is from the French Union, the STJV, and they spoke
Yes.
out on the results of its battle from Don't Nod over its proposed
Mm.
PSE, which is the redundancy plan. So, as for anyone who's just kind of signing in and coming on, me and Adam have covered this for over a year now or so. This was when the STJV was in a battle with Don't Nod over the reorganization project. They fought back. There were many strikes over the years. Over the year at least, we covered that. And basically, Don't Nod, quote unquote, walked back on its plan. It reorganized the reorganization project, and it went for this PSE idea instead. So there were
Mm.
redundancies, but they laid them off in like a voluntary way. So just to hear in the STJV, I'll read a couple of bits of it. It says, the struggle in Don't Nod is nearing its conclusion. With a heavy heart at the loss of our colleagues, we still want to conclude these months of intense struggle with an analysis of what we have learned in the future. Why it matters. We started with a redundancy plan in which the employer intended to lay off 69 people, nearly a third of its workforce, without compensation other than the legal minimum. The plan included division into professional categories so precise that it individually targeted around 30 people. Through mobilizations, through strikes, we have managed to impose a framework and conditions which mitigate, certainly not enough, but greatly, the violence of this redundancy plan. We would like to emphasize a few specific points of these starting conditions. Opening voluntary departures. During the negotiations of the term of this PSC, we had obtained 23 voluntary departures be opened to professional categories not threatened by the plan to save as many colleagues from dismissal. We are pleased to announce that these departures have saved 23 workers from forced redundancies. Instead of the 69 layoffs initially planned, there were 46 voluntary departures and 1 layoff. We've almost reached our goal of quote unquote 0 forced departures, end quote. In addition, 8 people received a job change, which a handful refused, leading to their redundancies with the same severance pay. Executive compensation for everyone. We requested and obtained the application of the method for calculating severance pay for executives to everyone. This is financially advantageous for employees, and echoes a general demand of the STJV. All video game production professionals fall under the executive status. This is not a symbolic measure, but rather a recognition of our profession, our expertise, and the autonomy required of us. It also represents a concrete improvement in our working conditions. Companies must reclassify the status of all employees still under the ETAM status as executive, as it was recently negotiated at Amplitude. Strike reimbursements as well. Don't Nod has agreed to our demand and pay strikers' wages for every day of our rolling strikes. In doing so, the company acknowledges that that this week of strike action is its sole responsibility to defend our rights, secure negotiations, and then this agreement, we had no choice to mobilize through strike action. So I believe as well that first part was back in January this year, off the top of my head. We covered that in a podcast episode. While this measure may seem unusual in our industry, it's actually common in settlement agreements. Now a precedent has been set in the video game industry as well. So conclusion, Anna Def.
Yes.
we should really have started a podcast around a studio which doesn't have. It's always so hard to do the Anna Devisuks,
Yes.
president of the SNJV. It's going to be like a Marshall all over again.
Yeah.
Recently explained before the National Assembly that the agreement was reached was, according to the SNJV, proof of social dialogue. Take note, this victory proves that only a balance of power can achieve progress, and even the head of the SNJV recognizes this. The struggle belongs to all workers. Let's seize and win together. Report on the strike fund as well, the final part. Thanks to 17,000 euros in donations to the Don't Nod Strike Fund, we were able to use 15,300 to reimburse the 4-day strike in November-December 2024 at a rate of 100 euros per day. The remainder will now be added to the STJV's general fund for future struggles. That was it.
Yes.
So, Adam, it looks like our coverage of the STJV is pretty much at a close, barring Oscar Gilbert coming out and be like, "I'm going to lay off 60 more people," and like in that sense, like I think we're at the end of that, and I think we were covering this for a long period of time, a long expertise, and about the Oscar Gilbert. That's part of a really bad my trauma laced joke that I would do, because obviously these are important parts of union battles with the gaming industry. Obviously, we've spoken to people like Stefan Frost on the podcast, where his experience shows like the amount of times he was laid off in different things. Baka Shah, for example, who talked about how many times he's been laid off in the industry. Man went into the cigar business for a while as well. Like, it shows how crazy the industry is. So it seems like there were a lot of plus and negatives among many other things that happened. Obviously, even for Don't Nod as well, it did impact their production lines and etc. As you saw as well, the way that things were going over that period amid stock prices falling, the company being shook among many other um, like a lot of other pulses within the gaming industry. Adam, where do we think we stand on the STJV? Is it a good resolution to end off there? What seems to be their final battle here?
Yeah, no, it's good. Like they're fighting and we've put on it. God, for how long now?
Year, I say.
Yeah, a year, and they've like come down to like zero. Did they say almost zero or like absolutely zero?
Almost zero. So one person was laid off, but they tried to
Yes.
get a zero thing, but they almost got zero.
Yeah. So that's a huge improvement. That would never happen in the States. But the SJTV or the STJ
STJV. Yeah.
STJV is doing work and they didn't give up and they just went at it so that
Yeah.
people can keep their jobs. So good on them. It's a very good thing. Absolutely good thing.
No, and as you said as well, like the French do things differently. Like even with the state pension age, you always see in the news where they will literally come out and be like, and they will come out with like an aggressive like stance against certain things that change. And obviously,
Yes.
American unions are completely different compared to like the way that things go there. And the SAGV has done like different strikes among many of the French studios and whatnot. Yeah, it's kind of glad that I'm kind of glad that they've resolved this for both sides as well. It kind of will help the studio heal and move forward. And obviously,
Mm,
as well, you don't necessarily want to fight with a French union whilst you're trying to navigate a really tumultuous climate and also trying to get a steady footing on things. But um, yeah, a lot of things that went on there as well, and it's good to see at least with if you're a union member, obviously it's good that you got your payback for the days you did strike because obviously that's a brutal part of it. I have a brother and sister who work in teaching. When teaching unions go on strike as well, it's always like a difficult decision whether you choose to go on strike or you start losing pay for different days because you're essentially not getting paid for that. So yeah, obviously, like as I said before, like I'm in a profession where unions can happen, for example. But I do have this thing where with unions where it's like I do support them, but then also as well, I do think it's interesting when they choose to pick their fights. So it's like I always point out when we cover the STGV stuff, they were all talking about Don't Nod's alleged reported working conditions, but then weren't willing to strike then. But they striked when this happened with the reorganization project. So it's like the opportunistic moment to do it. So it's like I would like to see at least them being a bit more kind of like, yeah, actually, if these workplace allegations are pretty
yeah.
bad, we should also strike then and do it then. Oh no, we'll wait until like that happens. And they'll point it out as well, like in a glamorous kind of way. It's more about
Yes.
let's act on it, put your foot down and do it there. And before anyone jumps on it, I'm staying neutral on this. I'm not got a side, and this is my famous position where I always stand neutral.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out the where the consistencies are.
I'm
But
a union
yeah,
buster.
oh, are you?
I hate unions. The unions are
Yes.
dumb because, as everybody knows, if I can't have them, then nobody can.
No
Mm.
union's going to be able to represent those legs. Those legs got its own talent agent as
Yeah,
well.
dude, my legs have their own zip code. What are you talking about? Hey,
So yes, I think it's just a wrap, and I don't think we'll be hearing from this again, unless like Bao is outside Don't Know Montreal with his like picket
yes,
sign, poor thing saying we want more cat food, and all the Don't Know pets mobilize and like go on
yes,
strike. Then hopefully that's not there. But I'm
we
I'm kind
want
of glad
more
that it's
food in our bowl.
imagine like demand the food. Come on, man.
Oh
Otherwise, Luke into the abyss. That's what's going to happen.
my god.
Um, well, that's what Bao might do. Have you seen
Yeah, it's
Bao?
true. Yeah, Bao would send Luke to the abyss. Yeah,
Could
absolutely.
happen. Bao
Yeah.
could be like, why wasn't I an option for Swan's cat's name? And it's like
Mm. Yeah,
with a
it's
pause.
true. That's true.
And
I'm glad
also,
Snowy was in last place in that poll that you put out.
oh yes, yes, the poll's got some interesting results there as well.
Yes.
Oh, should I give you a bit of tea actually
Go
with
for
that?
it. Yeah.
So I'll give this to listeners as well. I don't want to throw him under the bus. Mr. Sam Bradley gave his vote as well
Oh,
for one of
yeah.
them. Would you like to know who he voted for?
I'm gonna guess Shadow.
Yes.
Bang. He seems like a Shadow guy.
Yes, he is a shadow person. So he voted in that. Olivia Lepore did not vote in it. I'm like,
Ah,
go on, Olivia. It's like
dang.
we pressured you in the podcast to say shadow, but like did not vote. But I did see it because I was like, okay, oh, Mr. Sam Bradley. It's like hello, and
Yes.
Thingy, who is a very don't know if you caught it yesterday, but was cooking a lot of food. And it was like, invite me
Hmm.
to your kitchen. I was like, I should have taken screenshots, sent to Adam some apple pie, I think it was, and some very
Oh,
delicious dessert confectionery. I was like,
That's not cooking, that's baking. But yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Wow.
we all know that bakers don't count as people.
Oh, wow. Look at him with his little savory cooking
I
here,
say that as
Sam. You can cook.
my wife is a baker, so
Oh, we see how that happens. But no, the poll results were Snowy was very far down. Yeah,
yeah,
that was an
good.
interesting one. Snowy
Good.
will be going on strike with the STJV. That's what's going to
Yes.
happen next.
Absolutely.
Fight for Snowy's rights. Adam, we're going to come to the end here as well. The first part. Should we just run through our last pieces as well? There's a couple here.
Yeah.
So we're going to go up here, and it's up here, and I'm just double checking that we've got the right ones here. Yes, we have. So Adam, 10-year anniversary of episode 3 Chaos Theory. It is out 19th of May. As you see, Don't Nod has tweeted here saying
Yeah.
10 years ago, we snuck out, broke in, and changed everything. Let's celebrate the release of Life is Strange episode 3 together. It's been a whole decade of midnight swims, tough choices, and blue-haired chaos after all.
Mm.
Obviously, the Life is Strange Twitter page tweet about it as well. Life is Strange episode 3 Chaos Theory turns 10 years old. Max and Chloe's investigation to Rachel Amber's dark disappearance leads them to break into Blackwell Academy after dark, searching for answers. When was your first experience with this episode? I'm pretty sure that sentence is literally the description of the episode, but as you will.
Yeah.
Adam, this is an interesting one as well. Just thought I'd throw it in here as well. Nicefield. That Nicefield. Yes,
Yes.
the Nicefield.
Mm.
We love Nicefield. Adam, Nicefield says this is the best episode
Mm.
out of the entire thing. And if I remember correctly, when we were doing
Yes.
our rankings episode as well, I even got pivoted towards episode 4 by you. Um,
Yes.
and this is literally in our show notes saying, what does Adam think of Nicefield's episode 3 claim?
Yeah.
What do you
Absolutely.
think?
A garbage take. Absolute rubbish take, if you will.
Are you
Uh
pushing Nicefield into the abyss?
Throwing, bro. I'm kicking them in the stomach right into the abyss. 300 style trash take. Best episode, my booty. No, like I said, I kind of go in between 3 and 4. Like honestly, like
Yeah,
like 3 is a good pivot episode, and then 4
yeah,
like brings it all like down. I I go in between 3 and 4 all the time, depending on the day.
agreed.
Um, yeah, but 3 is definitely the vibes episode. Like that's the real vibe episode.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. It's literally a toss up for me between them two. Was
Exactly.
it Yellow Flash Hawkeye was episode 5 polarized? Who
That's
is
a
it now?
real
Someone said
rubbish
that.
take. Yeah.
Right
Episode
for
5
Yellow
being
Flash
the
Hawkeye.
best one. Rubbish take. Garbage.
I do think that these two are the strongest. It's either or. I do think that Dark Room does edge it out because of where it's at and positioned at as a penultimate episode. But yes, a very good take there. And I'm just going to point up here as well. Obviously, Life is Strange fans, we got Chris a lot, and Mike A as well. They do amazing work there. I just thought I'd add Chris's input here as well. So episode 1, iconic. Episode 2, Kate. Episode 3, everything. Episode 4, the mystery and the shocks. Episode 5, the choice. And then he also put as well that Chaos Theory clears. So agrees with
Mm.
Nicefield. So I'm going to dangle them both above the abyss. There'll be some
Yeah.
squawking from Adam.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen.
Squawking, and then you get to like see my thighs again.
Exactly. That should be the
Yeah.
punishment.
You get to see my thighs.
Yeah,
My
you fall
thighs.
into the abyss and forever see me
Yeah.
thighs.
I can punish somebody with my thighs. Absolutely.
Oh God. Yes, so we'll add that on. And Adam, last two pieces quickly as well. Just for a disclaimer as well, Koira is on 30% off on Steam and 20% off PS5. It ends in 2 weeks. That was on the 15th of May. This is on the 28th of May it ends. So hopefully this podcast comes out beforehand. Do go and check out Koira because it is an independent game.
The support the devs bundle of Koira is on sale for $14.58 American. The support the
go.
devs bundle comes with the art and all that.
Can't go wrong, see. Those kind of prices now, especially in the industry, can't go wrong. Little gem as well. I will be picking this up as well in summer. And then speaking of the little gem as well, Adam, just a bit of a quick FYI. May 28th, Lonesome Guild, which is from Tiny Bull. Yes, Tiny Bull.
Yeah.
I always get Tiny Bull's studio to them mixed up. Tiny Bull's Lonesome Guild will be shown at the French Direct 2025. So it's one to check out if you are keen on there. This does look really cute as well. So definitely keep your eye on that. And we will also be keeping our eye on that. So Adam, we're going to wrap up here. This is the end of our first part. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you are new here, please do consider dropping subscribe to the channel, turn notifications, like the video, share with your friends. If you don't, no more fies for you. No more subscriptions. Goodbye. No more seeing the fies. So please do
Yes.
subscribe, because then if you get to 1900, Adam will show you his fies again. That's the
And
expectation.
maybe
So.
more.
And maybe more, but we won't be
Yes.
doing the YouTube because we don't want to lose the YouTube channel in that period of time. But yes, please do support the video as well, and obviously as well, StrangeCast is available on all podcast services, are available on Spotify, the video version, Apple Podcasts. Please do go and check us out there. Go and rate us as well. You help boost our visibility, and you get instant access to each part as soon as it becomes available. So we're going to sign off here. Let us know what you think in the comments. I'm sure the comments will be wonderful considering our topics that we've done. But yeah, let us know what you think in the comments. And yeah, stay tuned. Side B will be coming very soon. Take care, guys. See you later. Bye.
Later.
Ready for the mosh pit, Shaka Bra.